At the start of the show, we meet a man named Terenzio. At that time, Terenzio goes to an airport. When Terenzio gets to the airport, he looks really worried. It seemed like he missed his plane, but really he didn't miss his plane. The truth was very different. Later, he goes to the front desk to ask when the plane to the west leaves. They tell him it will leave in 2 hours. He then buys a ticket so he can go through the terminal. In a later scene, a woman is video chatting with her friend who lives in New York. While they are talking, her best friend suddenly faints, and the woman at the airport gets very worried because she can't help her right now. Some people were watching TV, and then they saw a news reporter faint. Also, they saw many people falling on the ground, not moving. No one knew why this was happening. The people watching the news thought it was a joke, because how could people just faint like that? But Terenzio knows it's not a joke. It's a serious problem. Terenzio says that this is the time they need to do something. He runs towards the terminal and grabs a guard's gun because the guard wasn't paying attention. He tells everyone not to get in his way. He quickly goes to a plane that is going to Moscow. After some time, the plane is ready to take off. He holds a gun to a passenger and demands that they fly the plane. The real pilot hasn't arrived yet, and the co-pilot doesn't want to help this terrorist. Because of this, they start fighting. During the fight, a bullet hits the pilot, and he gets hurt. The bullet went into his hand. All the passengers were very scared because of this. A flight attendant was trying to tell them not to worry. Later, Terenzio comes out of the cockpit and asks if there is another pilot on board. When she hears this, a woman stands up. She used to be a pilot. She starts flying the plane because Terenzio told her to. Because the pilot was shot, the plane's controls broke, so no one could contact people outside the plane. This made them have to keep flying. Later, they ask Sylvie why he made them take the plane. He says that he was given a high job in NATO, and he knows many things that other people don't know. When the pilots really push him to tell them the reason, he says that the sun's rays have become deadly. The next day, when the sun comes up, everyone will die from its rays, even people in their homes. He claims that Japan and Korea are already experiencing this, and this plane will be the sun's next target. If the rays hit it, everyone on board will die. The pilots don't believe him and say he's probably crazy. Terenzio says that after hearing this, he might sound crazy, but he really isn't. Later, the pilot Matthew's hand, where he was shot, is bleeding. A woman passenger who is a doctor agrees to help and says she will take care of the pilot. She uses a hot knife to take the bullet out of his hand. This was painful for the pilot, and the other passengers were also worried, so he knows he has to bear it because the passengers' lives depend on Matthew. Later, Matthew tells everyone that they will land where Terenzio asked them to, even though it's not where they were supposed to go. Matthew believes that fighter jets will definitely come to save them. However, the other pilot, Sylvie, doesn't believe that help will come for them. On the other hand, when another passenger finds out that sunlight is killing people, he doesn't believe it and starts to think that all the pilots are lying to him. This passenger's name was Ayaz. Later, another passenger appears, who is Arab, and he starts coughing and then faints. Ayaz pretends to help him but steals Terenzio's gun. After that, Terenzio gets locked in the bathroom. The other pilots are asked to tell the truth. They say they are going to land in the west. He tells them it will land in Iceland because Terenzio wants their plane to land in the west. When the police come, they will arrest Terenzio and let everyone else go. He talks about the sun's rays, and Terenzio believes these rays are killing people. Meanwhile, another passenger remembers seeing strange things, and each of them starts to worry about their families. Later, the pilot Matthew tells the passenger, "Don't worry. As your captain, I will take responsibility for you. You will all be saved by me." Later, the plane reaches the west. They were going to land in Iceland when the pilot saw that there were already many other planes there. Because there were so many planes, many of them crashed. Also, there was no place to land, and people were moving around everywhere. The pilot starts to believe that Terenzio was right. Since they have nowhere to land, they decide to fly to Scotland. Terenzio is then let out of the bathroom. Everyone asks him to explain why people are dying from the sun. Terenzio says, "I found out about this from my boss, and even I don't know why it's happening or when it will all end. All I know is that if we want to survive, we need to land away from the sun, in an area where the sun's rays can't reach." Later, the Arab man who had fainted earlier is still alive but barely breathing. He is about to die, but before he does, he tells everyone that he swallowed diamonds. The nurse tries many times to get the diamonds out of his body, but she can't. Later, they have to make an emergency landing in Scotland. It was a hard landing, and the plane almost crashed into a wall, but with great difficulty, they stop the plane just in time. As soon as their plane lands, they start getting many messages and information from their family members. News online says that half of the population has died because of the sun's rays, and half are still alive. The airport has become empty because people have run away from there. They were looking for a dark area where they could hide. The news said that if sunrise happens and a person is not hidden in a bunker, they will die. All these passengers need to fly towards the west. They were getting their supplies and important bags ready for this purpose. Among them, one man wants to go back to his wife. He argues with everyone, saying he doesn't want to go west. He is allowed to go back. Canada was their next stop, where they would refuel their plane. The radio would be fixed, and after a while, the internet signal would also come back. Also, they found many notes that were the last messages from their loved ones because their loved ones had died later. Later, a man tells them that the planet itself is responsible for people dying from the sun's rays. One of them was a climate expert. He knows about the sun's brightness. He says that the sun's magnetic field flips every 11 years, but this time, the flip is weaker than usual. He claims that gamma bursts have affected every area that the sun's rays can reach. These gamma rays are responsible for people's deaths. They don't have any way to prove this theory. Later, Ayaz finds out through a report that all the RAF personnel on the plane are terrorists. They came from Afghanistan and have been arrested. They were returning to their home country. We see a terrorist and an old man fighting outside, and the terrorist pushes the old man to the ground, killing him. When the main pilot finds out about this, he decides that the terrorists should be sent to Canada, and they will take a new flight from there. Finally, they land on the ground. There are only 2 hours left until sunrise. The terrorists are told to find a local radio repair shop nearby. They ask to take 2 passengers with them. They agreed, saying they would bring Jacob and Gabriel with them. Jacob knew about this plane, but Gabriel didn't. As Jacob and Gabriel were going with the terrorists, Jacob locked them in a room. He wanted to bring Gabriel too. Gabriel, who didn't know about the plan, didn't want to leave them. Jacob ran towards the plane because he didn't have much time to stand there and convince Gabriel to come with him. Because of this, he moved quickly towards the plane. The terrorists were chasing him while Gabriel stayed in the city. The plane took off without him, and the terrorists chased Jacob and then started shooting at the plane's windows. The window wouldn't break if the plane kept flying at the same height. There was a boy on the plane who was very sick. Ayaz tried to talk to him so he could help him, but his mother warned him not to go near her child or talk to him. After this, in Hawaii, they got a radio signal from somewhere. They found out about some passengers in Hawaii who were hiding under a water bunker. They were still alive, and the pilot Matthew wanted to go save them. The other pilot said that they weren't even sure if this information was correct, so it wouldn't be right. It would be crazy to go there to save them. Terenzio arrived there and said that all decisions are made by the captain, and why not them? He called each passenger one by one. It was also decided there that every passenger would vote, and they would make a decision together. Meanwhile, the alarms started going off. This showed that there was a problem with the plane. As a result, they checked the plane. Matthew found out that the terrorists they had left behind were chasing them, and one of them had tied himself to the landing zone. If he stayed there, they wouldn't be able to land safely. Matthew decided that he would fly the plane fast, and this would cause a lack of oxygen, and because of the fast speed, he would fall off. But this time, they forgot that their plane's window was also broken. As the plane flew faster, the window broke. Air was rushing into the plane quickly. Things were flying around, making it hard for passengers to stay in their seats. Matthew slowed down the plane and took it to a lower altitude. Later, it was found out that Jacob had put a wooden board near the window. As a result, air couldn't get into the plane. The sick child was having trouble breathing, seeing that he had a breathing problem. Here, Ayaz had an idea, and he decided to use the oxygen pipe for the child. The child's mother felt ashamed seeing this because she had already asked Ayaz to make sure he stayed away from her child. Ayaz had also helped them today. The captain warned everyone that if they kept going at this speed, they wouldn't be able to land in Hawaii. Because of this, they changed their landing place. Also, they faced difficulties because of the terrorists hanging on, but meanwhile, we see Terenzio, Jacob, and Ayaz climbing under a cart. They make a hole in the plane's floor so they can see the terrorist. Terenzio pulls out his gun, but the criminal snatches it from him. Terenzio was ready to be killed when Ayaz stepped in to save him. Ayaz shot the terrorists and became a hero for a while. Later, it became clear that the Arab passenger who had swallowed diamonds had actually died because of Ayaz, because these passengers had buried his body in Canada. While doing this, a boy saw them. He was a passenger on this plane. He saw Ayaz cutting open the body and taking something out. Here, Ayaz claimed, "I am a diamond smuggler. Those gems were in the Arab passenger's body. I had hidden them there. The Arab passenger didn't follow the instructions properly. Because of this, he died, which is why I had to take the diamonds out of his body." Hearing this, everyone got angry at Ayaz, and some of them even suggested throwing him out, like the terrorists. Most of the passengers, though, stood up for Ayaz. Many of them wanted him to stay, so they just put handcuffs on him. Later, they land and fill up their plane with fuel. Here, the climate expert tells them something strange. He says that the Canadian fruit they took is tasteless because the gamma rays are so strong that the fruit has lost its original flavor. If this keeps happening, the gamma rays will destroy the structure of food. As a result, they could die from a lack of food within a few weeks. Matthew was driving for a while when he asked the climate expert if they needed to go to a place where the sun doesn't shine. Because of this, they would think about this topic later. Later, the pilot who wasn't flying was seen telling Matthew that he needed to rest because he was tired. He had been flying the jet for a long time and was getting slow because of tiredness. It was clear that the other passengers' lives were in danger. Every passenger came to him and convinced him to sleep. He promised, "I will sleep, but not now. I need to fly the plane now." Meanwhile, they got another radio signal. They couldn't hear the conversation clearly, but there was only one person they could hear, and it was almost like Stara 17. They quickly realized that the man talking to them was an astronaut who was already in space. They were quite surprised to learn that he was still alive and was contacting the control room on Earth. They decided to travel to NATO headquarters, which was the starting point of all this. They saw that Matthew, who had gone to the bathroom, had fainted. Actually, the wound on his hand from the bullet had gotten worse. As a result, the poison was now spreading throughout his body. One of the nurses among the passengers said that if they could somehow get to a hospital, she would operate on him and the other pilot, whose name was Sylvie. She was quite worried thinking about how she would fly the plane without Matthew. All the passengers insisted that she fly, even if she had no experience. They said she still needed to land this plane because she was their last hope. Sylvie was seen watching a YouTube video to learn how to land the plane. Watching the video was quite easy, but when it came to flying and landing the plane, it was very difficult. Sylvie was nervous, and their landing was shaky when they came down. Luckily, all the passengers were safe, and Sylvie received praise from everyone. They wasted no time and divided themselves into 3 groups. They had different tasks to do. While some had to refuel the plane, others had to take Matthew to the hospital. Terenzio and Ayaz also had to go to NATO headquarters. At the hospital, there were many patients lying on the ground. They had died. After seeing them, the nurse told them not to panic and instead focus on saving Matthew's life. Later, we see the sick child's mother. She was gathering various items for her child, like medicines and his essentials. On the other side, we see NATO headquarters. Everything was brought to the control room by Terenzio. They didn't have enough time to check every file thoroughly. Because of this, they chose to watch the surveillance video. They would most likely learn something from this video. Later, a fight broke out between Terenzio and Ayaz when one member supported one side. Terenzio accidentally killed Ayaz. On the other hand, one of their members managed to find a recording. In this recording, several officials were heard talking. These were about an underground bunker in a dam. It was star number 17, the same place they had heard about on the radio. Rick was the name of the boy who took this recording. Now they had to inform their other members about it. As we see, Terenzio goes to Rick and tells him, "This is how I killed Ayaz." When Rick gets there, he sees Ayaz's body covered in blood. On the other hand, Matthew's condition is stable for now. Later, Matthew was taken away from the plane. The other participants get on the plane for the return journey. Terenzio advised everyone that they shouldn't wait for Ayaz because he wouldn't be coming back. Everyone was worried about why Ayaz wasn't returning. When Matthew started the engines, they saw Ayaz in front of them. Ayaz was brought onto the plane, while Terenzio's hands were tied up. Sylvie informed everyone that if the Bulgarian jet didn't fly into the bunker located inside the dam, they wouldn't have enough fuel to go anywhere else. After landing, they would only have 20 minutes to get inside the bunker. Ayaz's condition was getting worse because of too much bleeding. Later, everyone asked Ayaz what Terenzio had done to him and what punishment he wanted to give him later. Ayaz claimed that after hearing everything, he didn't want Terenzio to die. He said Terenzio should come with them to the bunker because the bunker was very far from them. As soon as the jet landed, they all got into cars and started moving towards the bunker. These passengers were divided into 2 groups. They were traveling in 2 vehicles. Sylvie was driving the first car, while Ayaz was driving the second car. Ayaz's condition had become quite critical due to the bleeding. As a result, Ayaz and his friend's car crashed. The first car, which Sylvie was driving, got ahead. Sylvie immediately turned around and went through a gate that was partly open. One passenger touched this gate and fell to the ground because electricity was flowing through the gate. They realized that they had to keep pressing a button until all the passengers entered. Pressing the button was extremely important because the gate would remain open only as long as it was pressed. Terenzio said, "I will keep pressing this button until every passenger enters." Sylvie had chained Terenzio's hands because she was afraid he might betray them, as he had done with Ayaz. She told him that he would be freed once all the passengers were inside. The group members who were with Ayaz in his car, along with Sylvie and other team members, entered after Terenzio's hands were tied. On the other hand, Ayaz, after dropping off all his passengers, took one turn, then another. He entered the dam's bunker through a different entrance. Because those people had gone through a different gate, Terenzio was left alone there, while all the other members of the team had entered the bunker. Finally, the army welcomed all of them. They said that everyone was safe now. Terenzio remained alone outside and asked God for forgiveness for his wrongdoings. He was ready to face the sun. All the other passengers survived, but Terenzio was killed by the sun's rays. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching.